welcome back to the shed. So, I thought I've been using my Doogee V Max Plus for about a month and a half, almost 2 months now, and I thought, let me record a little video of what it's been like to use this for the past month and a bit. So, you can hear I'm getting some chirps. I thought I would just kind of go through a little bit of how I've been using the phone and some maybe quirks I've been noticing, uh, maybe some things that you might want to do on your own Doogee V Max Plus as well. So anyway, I'm gonna pause here. I'll rearrange the camera and give you a close up on this wonderful brick of a phone. Alright, so the very first thing you need to know about this phone is that it is literally an absolute brick. So I've got my carpenter square here so you can get an idea of how big this thing is. So there's 7 inches tall, and then 5.5, 5.25 wide. But here's the party trick. It's like a good solid inch thick. So, everything that you read online or see online that says this is basically a battery pack with a phone attached to it, that's right. It's a battery pack with a phone attached to it. So here are my thoughts after using this phone for a little while here. Here's my home screen. I've taken some, here I'll see if I can find couple of photos. So last night we had a campfire, and so this photo here was taken when we were doing like when I had it on night mode, and that's not too bad, not too shabby. Some pretty cool, like I'm really impressed was able to pick up a lot of that detail there. This was a photo of the sky when I just put it on the chair and then pointed the camera up. Another photo of the sky. So now it does have like a really neat and like fairly good night vision mode kind of thing. So like I've been pretty impressed with the camera. Now, with the camera modes, it does have a wide-angle lens. So there is always that option, and then it does have this night vision, which is like an infrared camera. So, for example, here you can see the infrared of the room that I'm in. Sorry, it's not infrared, sorry. So it uses a infrared sensor to do a black and white photo. But, like, let me see if I can angle my viewfinder so I can see this properly. So, there's my campfire, or my wood stove going right now. And then here's what the Doogee sees of the wood stove. So, like, it's definitely, like, it's not showing like a red, purple, blue infrared heat map. It's just showing like a night vision, like as if I had no camera on at all, or as if it had like no lights at all. Which is still a pretty neat party trick. Like if I'm, out and about, maybe I'm camping, and I don't want to spook any animals with my flash, then you can use that. So then it's also got video. Now the main camera is a 200 megapixel camera, so like you can get really big detailed photos. Now, however, one thing to keep in mind is that the camera does not have optical image stabilization, so you do need to be aware that you can't be shaking your fingers when you're taking your photos. So one thing you will notice is that photos that are taken that um, are like action photos, like they do kind of get a little blurry, and like it. Let's be honest, you don't buy this phone for the camera, right? You buy it for the battery. Uh, Now the battery, it you can see here I'm at 77% right now. So I first got this phone middle of September. It's now the first week in November. So that's what, like a month and a half. And in a month and a half, I have charged this phone 3 times. How many other phones can you say that you've charged it once a week or maybe a week and a half, right? Like that's pretty crazy. Um, Now, I have found that when I use a slow trickle charger, that it takes like 8 hours, 10 hours to charge it. It did include a 33-watt fast charger, and once I got an adapter to use it with my Canadian power outlet plugs, I'm able to go from a 25% to 100% in about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. So definitely get your fast charger if you're going to be getting this phone, uh, because that fast charging, oh boy, it makes a real difference. Now, here are a couple of things that I have done in order to make living with the phone a little easier. Uh, and by the way, I did not I bought this all by my own money, not sponsored or anything. So the very first thing that I did was I installed NetGuard. So NetGuard, what it does, here I'll pull up NetGuard here. So NetGuard is a really cool app. It's free. There is a paid version, but the free version is really cool because what it will do is you basically have a list of all the applications and all the system features on the phone, like say calendar here for example, and you can just toggle it on and off to be able to allow using data when your screen is turned off, or only using Wi-Fi and only using it when your screen is on, that kind of thing. So what I do is every application that I have installed on the phone, I have it set that every time I install a new application, I go in here and I set it so that way it's blocked from accessing data when the screen is off. And the reason I do that is because these phones are so data hungry. Now I have like a 300 gigabyte data plan with Rogers, so I don't care about the volume of data. I care about the battery usage because I don't need my calendar going and pinging the Google Calendar service every 10 minutes when it's sitting there on the desk. I only really wanted to ping it when I turn the screen on and when I actually look at the phone. One other really side benefit of that is sometimes those notifications don't show up. So like when I turn the screen on, Gmail goes and connects, and hey, by the way, you have new emails. It's not pinging me every 10 minutes sitting on the desk when I'm doing other things, right? So that's the very first thing I've done, and that definitely helps on the battery life, and also helps on just the use of life benefit, like just not being too caught up and distracted and things. Another thing I did was instead of installing Facebook, I installed Facebook Lite. So the reason for that is because the main Facebook application is a very resource connection heavy application, and the Lite version is just that. It's light, so it doesn't use as much data. It's not as annoying Facebook spyy things. Um, Now another setting that I did, I quite often will have battery saver on. I quite often will, oh, you know, I don't have my Wi-Fi on. I'll quite often turn on the Wi-Fi instead of the data. Now 5G is nice when it's fast when I'm in the area for it, but it also will use the battery up faster if you're using it. So quite often when I'm working, I'll sit it on the desk and I'll turn off the Wi-Fi, turn off the data, and then just let it sit there. and it will barely use any battery charge because it's not trying to connect to all those different services. Another thing that I did was I went into the settings and I went into, I believe it's in the About phone, or maybe it's in the system, developer options. Here we are, developer options. So one of the developer options that I turned on in here was this one here. Let's see here. Trying to find the setting that I'm thinking of. Here we are, the Windows animation scale. I turned off all the Windows animations because A, it makes the phone feel faster because it's not taking the half second to do the animation to get into the things. And B, I just find them kind of gimmicky and annoying. I just want things to just appear. I don't need the transitions. Now, another thing that I have done is I did change, I forget which setting it is. You'll have to look up on YouTube or like other Android videos. But there is an option to limit the number of background activities. And so that way, it'll sort of cut back on having those extra applications open in the background. So, I mean, all that is pretty standard Android 14 stuff. Like, there's nothing, you could do that on any phone. But it is really neat doing it on this phone because, like, it's really neat just only charging this thing once every week and a half, 2 weeks. And so my realistic, like, actual, real time up on the battery charging it is about a week, week and a half. Now, I do also turn it off at night when I go to bed, and I'm not playing games, I'm not doing a bunch of stuff on it during the day. In the morning, when I'm making my coffee, at lunchtime, I do watch YouTube videos on it, so that is using the screen a little bit, but I mean, that's the point of having a phone. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with this. Now, so software-wise, quite happy. As we all know, this phone does not have the fastest processor chip. So if you're going to compare the processor speeds on this phone to like the latest Samsung, the latest iPhone, you're not going to get that. But for what I use it for, it's good enough. Now, the notification light, it does light up when I have notifications waiting for me, which is kind of neat. The button here, the side button, it is customizable, so you can do, like I've done it where 2 taps will turn on my flashlight and off. A long tap will take a screenshot. Single tap I left off. I don't have a shortcut on that one because I tend to like tap it in my pocket a lot. Now this thing does weigh a bit, so I do find that I wind up leaving it on a table and then walking away and kind of like, oh hey, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Can someone call my phone? Which actually, you know, it's kind of nice not having it like, I mean, always accessible too, right? Now there are a couple of things that I do want to point out though, on the build wise though. Now I don't know if this is because of a setting I've changed in the developer options or if it's because of a build quality issue. But every now and then, so like here, I'm gonna go into my, so I have audiobooks that are saved on my SD card, and I'm just gonna try and play one right now, and aha, it's giving me an error message that the root folder is missing. So what I need to do is I need to pop my SD card and SIM card tray out, and then pop it back in. And then I'm going to refresh this, and it's going to scan, and it's going to find my books that are on my SD card. So that is one weird little quirk. And I don't know if it's because of a setting that I've changed or if it's because of something physical in the phone. But whenever I want to access something that's on my SD card, I have to like sort of pop it in and out. Another thing that has happened, so I have dropped this a couple of times. I haven't dropped it on cement yet, but I have dropped it on wood, and there is a corner, this corner here, that has developed a little crack in the case. See, right there. Now, it kind of goes across the top there, across that screw hole, so it's sort of like, I think it even might go around here a little bit. So it's sort of like this whole little bottom corner here of this case here. Now, I do not know what I did to drop, like I don't know where I dropped it in order to make that happen. I honestly have no idea when that happened. I noticed it about a week ago. So something to keep in mind is that even though this phone looks rugged and it looks indestructible and it's advertised as indestructible, it really is not. Now, whether that's a build quality issue because Doogee used like a bad casting of the metal or plastic or whatever this is, maybe it's user error and I just dropped it really hard on just the wrong spot, maybe. But with AliExpress things, is it really worth the effort to go and try and open a dispute and try to get $50 back because this corner is cracked? Is it even too late for me to do that? I just don't have the energy to get involved in that right now. But otherwise, I am quite satisfied with this phone. Now, I do find that like the fingerprint sensor is pretty good, and I'm really curious how long that fingerprint sensor is going to hold up before it eventually wears out. The speakers, there are speakers on the top and the bottom. It's one single, I'm pretty sure it's one speaker, and excuse me. Yeah, like it's, for the most part, it does what it's advertised to do. Like, it's advertised as a relatively durable phone that gets amazing battery life, that doesn't take a million hours to recharge the battery, and is a good enough device. And for $400 Canadian, I got exactly what I paid for, you know. If I wanted to spend $1,000, yeah, I could get a phone that had a better camera or a better screen. Oh, actually, that reminds me. It does have 60 and 90 and 120 hertz refresh rate options. I keep it at 60 because I find um, like there's really nothing that I watch on it that I need that extra frame rate. Um, and it does use the battery a lot more when you're on that higher frame rate. Maybe if you're playing some games or something, but for me, 60 is perfectly fine. I mean, hell, iPhones are 60. Like, 60 is good enough. But it does have that option if you wanted it. But yeah, like the way I see it is this phone, it's a brick. It's a beast of a phone. It's a bit of a joke. I'll pull it out and I'll hand it to people, and then their hand drops kind of thing. But then I tell them that I only had to charge the battery once in the last week, and they're like, "Ooh, that's interesting." But for me, for what I like to do, like Here, I'll turn the camera around here. So you can see behind me I got some wood. I got the wood stove going. Over here I've got my leather stuff. I've got my my day job in here. I've got my my kids. Where I don't want to have a phone that I'm afraid to handle. I don't want to have a phone that I have to be tethered to a wall outlet all the time. And I don't want a phone that if I break it, I'm spending a mortgage payment trying to replace it. This phone does that. It does all those things. I can play some silly idle games on the toilet. I can take half decent photos of things, not amazing, but decent enough. Um, I can do all the web surfing browsing that I want, and I can have it in my pocket and not worry about it getting hurt if I leave it in the wood shop and in the woodshed for a bit. Uh, for my money, $400, I got exactly what I paid for. So, anyway, I just wanted to show this, have this little chat with you, and I will see you later. Safe travels.